what has it been like the last 2 weeks? You know, help moderate the CFL Reddit board up there. What has it been like since the XFL has invaded your world?
I mean, as a fan, it's been like insanity just because like my phone is buzzing nonstop because I have like obviously the Reddit community and the Twitter account both tied to my phone. So I'll be sitting at work and my notifications are just like all day. From a pure analytics point of view, like it's been insane. Like we've had people from the NFL, people who are not traditionally football fans, XFL fans, CFL fans who've kind of like fallen out of favor with the league, all rushing back in and just like shooting our numbers through the roof. Like it's been insane, like absolutely insane. Like with the community, it's me and a bunch of other strapping, good looking dudes running it. And it's like, it's slowly encroaching on our full-time jobs, just having to contain all of it. But it's been exciting. It's been awesome.
What like personally, are you in favor of this thing? Let's just get it out of the way. Are you in favor of this merger?
Yeah.
So I need to cover my bases just because like my posting history, you can dig into it. Originally, I wasn't. Like I was a Canadian, like I bleed maple syrup, and like I wanted the CFL to say the CFL. And in the past, we had all these people pop up and say things like, oh, like the XFL and CFL should merge, the CFL and the AFL should merge, the CFL should become NFL Canada and just be the de facto D League. And I was very staunchly no, keep my Canadian football Canadian. But I'm also a realist and I understand the reality of the situation. And through the Reddit community, like I've been able to build contacts within the league office. I told you, Reed, that like I did work for the league for a brief period of time. TSN reporters, which is essentially our ESPN, people who work in the actual teams, and talking to them and realizing just how dire things are with the CFL right now. I basically come to the conclusion that I would much rather football in Canada survive through a merger with the XFL than no football at all. So to answer your question, I guess, is like, I'm for it right now. If it's going to save our league, if it's going to inject capital into our league, and if it's going to ensure that I can go to my Red Blacks games every weekend up in Ottawa, let's do it. Like, let's merge.
Did you have any familiarity with XFL before all this came about?
So I wasn't a football fan. So I'm 29. I wasn't a football fan in 2001. My football fandom started in around 2009-ish, 2010, after playing it a bit in high school and watching my local university go to the Vanier Cup, which in Canada is our college championship. So that kind of all kicked it off for me. But I do have early memories, obviously, like He Hate Me and just like the crazy instead of the coin toss where they were just like running and giving themselves concussion diving on the ball. And then when XFL 2.0 first launched, I was talking with a few people in the league, and they were, how do I phrase this? They were more weary of XFL 2.0 than they ever were the AAF. Just because like the innovations, and it seemed more like a polished, legitimate product, where AAF, like there was rumors of things popping up every other day, and like, were they funded? Were they not funded? Yeah. So my interest was piqued, and I watched a bunch of the games during 2.0 before everything shut down. So that's my general, I'm not like too in depth of the understanding of the mechanics of it, but like I have a general understanding of where you guys are at.
What's been the outcry? You know, I've seen a lot of, and we just had Dave on. It seems like, you know, CFL people, it's you know, crying foul where they're really holding on to this, right? And that's great too. I mean, we've said, you know, the first time that they announced this, like, we're not XFL Mark, like rules, like I don't care. We cover fan controlled football. It's on Twitch. They're throwing stuff, right? So like, but if the league is dying, right, or if they're running out of money, like you can't. I mean, what hill are we dying on here?
Yeah, and that's kind of been my argument when I've been conversing with a lot of people, is like, if the league is dying, what's the point of dying on this hill? Like, we're either going to shoot our shot merging and it might work, or we're going to be dead, or we're going to keep going the way we're going to go and we're going to be dead. But I think you see a lot of the pushback is because For a lot of people, the CFL is like as Canadian as hockey, as Don Cherry, as Wayne Gretzky. Like it's a huge, huge part of our identity. So all these merger talks have just essentially been making people incredibly anxious that this huge part of their identity is about to go by. So
I get it. I mean, I'm heavy into baseball, played at every level. And the whole idea of like statistics coming in and being so important to the baseball game is making me like, I'm a 42-year-old man. I'm like, wait, what is this crap? Like bunts are a part of the game and that kind of thing. So I completely get the traditional aspect of this. So with that being said, how do you think it's going to, if they do merge, if there's a merger that happens, and let's just say they adapt the Grey Cup as the championship for the entire league,
which I want, which I'm in favor for.
How do you think that's going to play out when the first XFL team wins that Grey Cup?
So I think like you guys are obviously familiar with the U.S. expansion back in the early 90s. Yeah. So I think it depends on how they align it. If they're going to keep the CFL and the U.S. as two different divisions, I think personally that would be great TV, because when Baltimore went to the Grey Cup twice in 95 and then won it in 96, or went in 94 and won in 95. Either one of those.
That sounds right.
Yeah. It was very much just Canada versus the US. And I there's this weird dichotomy in Canada where like anytime we do something better than you guys, we just love to boast about it. Like we love it. We love the whole Canada versus US narrative as much as our countries are very much friends and very much on amazing terms. So I think realistically, if something like that happened again, it would just be a huge boon for both leagues, or especially here in Canada. I don't know how much it would be received in the US, because I feel like you guys every now and then think of us as an afterthought until Drake or some other famous Canadian pops up. But yeah.
It's just interesting because, the CFL is, XFL, 01, we were there. It's kind of a joke, 2.0 comes about and it's all this, they spent, I don't know why Vince didn't just, except for just his vendetta of wanting to prove that he was right, call it something else, right? I mean, there's so much baggage on, terrible baggage on all this from the 2000s, where the CFL is so tied to like the Canadian identity. It's just weird how both these leagues exist, and there's just such a different stigmas to both of them.
Definitely. I think like the biggest thing that I'm worried about right now is now this is more so for the older generation, is if the rules change dramatically, a mass amount of the season ticket holders every team across the country are going to go. Like they don't want to see 4 down. They don't want to see 100-yard fields. Like they don't want any of that. They want their 3 downs. They want their motion. They want all that fun stuff. But the only saving grace I see in that is with Canada, because we're just so exposed to US marketing. Like we get blasted by the NFL's marketing machine. For every 10 times we see an NFL ad, we might see one CFL ad. My only solace in that potential move would be it could reinvigorate the young Canadian football fans to start coming out and start supporting their teams and start doing all that. So it's a balancing act. Everything about this to me is just going to be one giant balancing act. And if everything that I've heard and everything that's out in the media is true, this is it. Like we have to try this. And if it doesn't work, well, we were going to die anyway.
Do you think you said that if they do adopt XFL, you think that there's going to be a revolt?
I think there'll be a big, big revolt in the older fans, in like your 50 plus who grew up with the CFL, not the millennials to Gen Z who, I mean, out of my friend group, I'm probably the only like one true CFL fans. The other ones passively watch, but they're not fully into it. I think their interest might get piqued, but it would be game over for a lot of the Gen Xers and boomers.
That's interesting. You say Gen Xers because I identify as Gen X. I'm right there on the edge, and I think like, well, I've seen some CFL games here and there. I would not necessarily revolt against changing the game to make it more marketable and get a better TV deal. I keep coming back to that because I was just heard about the TV deal, and it sticks with me because I'm just like, that's such a small amount to pay for something that's got such a heritage.
It is, but it's not. I forget who was it. Rod, who you guys were talking to, who told you about the TV? Yeah, it's not in the scope of, if you understand like the money moving through Canadian media markets. Like, I think the biggest media buy any company has ever done in this country is when Rogers bought the rights for the NHL, and they spent, I believe, just over $2 billion. And after that happened, they basically had to slash a giant chunk of their company because they paid so much. So media deals in this country aren't insane. Like, we just saw the NFL sign, what, $110 billion deal for the next 10 years. So I think putting that in perspective with the number that the CFL is getting, and understanding that games on average range between 600 to 700,000 Canadians. It's not outrageous. I mean, me personally, I'm a CFL homer. Like, I think it should be $1 billion every year to the league. But again, putting it in perspective, it does make a lot of sense why that number's there. And it has, every new broadcasting deal has gone up and up and up and up and up with TSN.
I just don't feel like there's such a big difference between a $2 billion deal for the NHL and that number that we got for the CF. There's just such a big gap.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, it's massive.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah, we were we're going to record the bulk of our show here after this. One of the talking points, with the new NFL deal is one NFL game basically equates to the budget that the CFL gets for the whole season. One. And it, like, just in that perspective alone, I mean, American dollars and Canadian and viewership and, the population and all that aside, like, that is astounding that one NFL game could be, the whatever Thursday night leftover game, the rights for that equals, the whole. It's crazy.
I remember, and there's a certain segment of the Canadian media population that just loves to crap on the CFL. I can point you to a few of them if you'd like to interview some of them. But one of the articles that sticks out in my mind is when Drew Brees signed his last deal. In 1 year, he was making more than every single CFL player. They're like, all their salaries combined, Drew Brees was still making more. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess my last question today, and we'll probably follow up with you at some point, later when we know more stuff here, is I'm really, and hearing you talk today about, the older people and the younger and the losing money, like, I don't know if there is a win here where, like, if the XFL comes in, people are going to revolt. If they don't, the CFL is running out of money. They don't have anywhere else to go. I just don't know where this is going, where it's going to appease everybody except the XFL fans that just want to see the XFL, I guess, continue.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I think they'll come around. Like, everyone's adverse to change. Nobody wants something they love to change, but reality of life is things need to change. Things need to evolve. And if we want football in this country, we need to change and evolve. One of the big things that I've been parroting, especially on Twitter, though, is I keep seeing people saying, like, oh, what can the XFL bring to the CFL? Or, oh, what can the CFL bring to the XFL? And for me, it's been insanely obvious. And this might just be because I've seen the inner workings of the CFL and how it works. But the CFL needs marketing. They, like, go to the CFL staff directory when we get off the call, look for a single person who is hired or currently working with the CFL right now who works in marketing. There's one. And it's a C-suite executive level position. They have no marketing personnel on staff anymore. When I worked there, their marketing department was in shambles. And I'm not talking social media. I'm not talking communications. Communication, social media, and marketing, completely different things. I'm talking purely marketing people. They don't have any. The CFL needs marketing. The CFL has always needed marketing. Their marketing sucks. We had to bully them. The Reddit community had to bully the CFL. And we've done this a few times. We had to bully them to get a TikTok account. And now I understand, like, TikTok, like, the impression is, oh, it's for 15-year-olds, right? But TikTok has 1 billion users now. And what demographic is the CFL missing? The younger fans. Like, we as a community should not have to bully you. On the flip side, the XFL needs established operations, history, all that stuff, which the CFL has. So the more we dive into this, I guess, thought experiment of an actual merger happening, on paper, it makes sense why the XFL and the CFL need each other. Like The Rock and Redbird Capital and all that can provide a massive marketing arm where the CFL can come in and provide this wealth of operational knowledge. And on paper, it should work. Will it work, or will it even happen? We don't know. But
it's just tough. I don't know. The deeper we get into this, and like I said, we're not the XFL marks, but it's at some point, rubber hits the road and you got to kind of get your stuff together. And if it's bleeding out and you got to, I don't know. I just don't know what it's going to be fascinating. I mean, I'm glad we were going to cover the CFL anyway before all this XFL stuff came about, and now it's certainly become, like you said, a full-time job as well, trying to kind of keep up and manage all this stuff.
Now, are you guys for or against the merger?
I'm for it.
You're for it?
I'm for it. I think, like you said, I think we're on the same page where the Grey Cup could be something that's adapted as the league's title. I don't know about a Canada versus US divisions. Maybe split it half
East-West.
Yeah. And the way you get variations of, like there could be two Canadian teams playing for the Grey Cup still. There could be two US teams playing for the Grey Cup. I think the East to West divisions might work better in terms of travel and in terms of potentially getting a Canada versus Canada team matchup in the Grey Cup, which would make, of course, Canadian fans happy.
I think some of the rivalries too. Like I don't know if the XFL plans on coming back with the teams that were originally launched, but one of the things I've seen all over Twitter and just in the community is a BC versus Seattle rivalry would be just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, look at MLS. So we have the Whitecaps and the Sounders. That's part of a serious that soccer rivalry up there in the Pacific Northwest between Portland and Vancouver and Seattle. It's massive. It's massive. So I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, it's just tough because where the XFL is singular owned, all these teams, and the CFL is not even that. It's a mix, and you have these owners or whatever. So that's my thing, is because I would say, just run them separate, give Redbird, 40% or whatever of the CFL on the marketing. But at that point, you can't do that because you have all these different teams and stuff, and the ownership, and you have old money up there, and maybe they don't want to why would I want to let go if I've got whatever until it's in the ground? So.
Awesome, Braydon from CFL Reddit. We appreciate your time. Appreciate your
time. Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm sure we're going to be talking to you very soon here. If any other news breaks.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be all over it.
Yeah, we'll be chatting. I appreciate you, and I think it's a good connection, and I think it's a good angle for us to take. I think it's on brand for us to do this today.
Awesome.
So.
And of course, I have to mention this. I appreciate you being a stan of Photog Pitch. I have to appreciate that. I'll give you a shout out for that.
Well, I'm trying. I'll see if I can try and make it an ice cream level meme in the community for you.
That's great news. Do I get any Timbits with that? Or
you might get Timbits. We might be able to ship you guys some free healthcare and maple syrup. Yeah. So let me go talk to Justin Trudeau and we'll figure it out.
Sounds good, man. We're shipping you vaccines. You ship us some Timbits. We're all
exactly.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Yeah. See ya.